So long overdue having Bill here to demonstrate for us. As you probably saw in the newsletter on our website, he'll be doing some things on driftwood. I mentioned a workshop with Liam O'Neill. Bill's also going to be doing a workshop, and we have one space left. Is that correct?
Yep.
So if you want to pursue the workshop, it will be on my subject, driftwood. You don't have to go far to get to the source. Just talk to Bill during break or whenever you can corner him, and we got one slot left for that. So I guess without further ado, many of you already know Bill. Been on the scene here locally for a very long time, so I won't say much more than that, and I'll let Bill get to it. So welcome, Bill.
So once again,
Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody. And I want to introduce Carol Williams, who's doing the PowerPoint. She did the PowerPoint for me. Yay, Carol. So I guess that's what we'll do, start off with the slides or whatever. So that piece is a self-portrait. Well, that's what Carol thought.
I'm not the only one.
But it's actually done on the lathe, Jim. Yeah. You can't see it, but that's a plywood box that's clamped to a wood lathe. So the shop is limited for space, so I usually use all my lathes for
multi-axis.
I don't know what that is.
That's the table saw.
Oh yeah, the most heavily used tool in my shop is the table saw. It's underneath all that stuff. And you can put a lot more stuff on a table saw than you can on a lathe bed.
They call it a table saw, not a saw table.
I'm in Bill's shop.
Build this saw to the table. That's a picture of Mike. So everybody knows Mike Smith. That's who I get the vast majority of my driftwood from, and any wood I buy I get from Mike. I try not to buy too much from him, but he's a great source. So I guess this is either Oregon or Washington.
That's Oregon.
It's hard to believe. I was out there watching.
And he says sometimes there'll be a stump out here 5 or 6 feet in the surf. That could have been on land 50 years ago and washed into a river, out into the ocean and back.
Wow.
And that may be on a different beach in 2 days. So he said if you can carry it off, you're welcome to it. You have to get a permit if you're going to cut it with a chainsaw. So Mike even got a rechargeable chainsaw one time. I told him, I said, yeah, right. He didn't laugh, did it?
It was a Sears reciprocating battery-powered reciprocating saw. And the first battery lasted about 2 inches into the wood. I ain't got that whole mess back off the beach. I had 4 spare batteries, and I don't even know where that thing is right now. I got new solutions real quick.
But he gets some incredible pieces of wood. So
that's actually taken a place called Cape Blanco, which is about 2/3 of the way down the Oregon coastline. It's probably the best place to collect it. And what you're looking at there is not a whole lot of wood, but we may go back tomorrow and there may be nothing there, but to the right there may be a pile 6 foot deep. It's just kind of amazing how much wood there is along the beaches in Oregon.
Is it mostly softwood, Mike?
No, it's everything. You find redwood down there, myrtle wood. Bill's done some of both, redwood, myrtle wood. You get some oak. You get some stuff that's got. I've got a few pieces back here that's got shipworm damage. You've been on the bottom of the ocean long enough for the shipworms to attack it. It's anything and everything. Madrone, you find madrone out there. It's really hard to identify it until you turn it because it's all gray, of course.
a lot of times you can't tell what it is.
Yeah. So it's used to be my most exciting thing to do in Oregon.
The good thing is Mike can't charge you for that expensive wood because he doesn't know what it is.
But then when you call it driftwood, then the price really goes down.
So that's me trying to find driftwood on the East Coast. That's Merchant's Mill Pond, which is 1 county in from the coast. I think it's on the Virginia border. It backs up to the Dismal Swamp. But I mean, You're just like a little wood elf down there when the trees are just unbelievable. There's some trees down there that are over 1,000 years old. So these are the cypress knees coming up here that a lot of people collect.
Can you harvest those?
No, not on the state park you can.
Okay.
But the rivers down there, I do the state fair. I have several people that come to my booth and have collected them on the rivers. They have own property on the rivers down there, the Black River and the Cape Fear and everything goes down there. But I mean, the trees are just unreal. So this is a booth at the state fair. Those are the two prettiest things you're going to see in these slides tonight. One of them's my wife and one of them's a good friend of mine. That's a piece of,
And wood's not too bad either.
that's a piece of driftwood that comes back around like this. I thought I had more of the driftwood in there. So I use the driftwood. Actually, that pedestal's driftwood. That's a redwood burl that brought me that was green and had this fantastic color from the sapwood. That's a piece of catalpa that he brought from West Virginia. Anyway, I use the driftwood for putting wood spirits on and bowls on, as well as making stuff out of it. So the woman on the left, that's Lois Henry. This is a piece we did in collaboration. So this is a piece of driftwood that Mike brought, and I think it was some type of oak. So this bowl is carved, this bowl was turned. It was a fairly big piece. We did it as a collaborative piece, demonstrating for a group to start it off, and it looked like water coming down through here. It was so highly figured. So Lois carved, I did the turning and the carving of the bowl. Lois carved turtles in it. And some of them, there's 4 turtles on there. 2 of them are like coming out of the wood, and then she went back and I think she put steel wool and vinegar and painted them so it looked like the weathered wood that was on the driftwood. So the detail's not showing the turtle off very well, but they were fantastic. I love that piece.
Wow. Good job.
It was in a show in Virginia, and actually the gallery owner bought that piece before the show opened up. So it never even got shown. That's a turtle I did off a piece of found wood. That was a mulberry block that somebody brought me from Chapel Hill. So it was originally all turned, and then that bark inclusion showed up and looked like an eye. And so I started carving the turtle head and gave him 4 feet, and got another bark inclusion over there for the second eye. That's a better picture of the turtles. But you know, this dark stuff, I didn't do anything to, right? That was the weathered wood. So that was what was really neat. All that color on the part that I turned and carved, and then she came back and made the turtles look like the dark part of the wood.
What do you finish it with?
Almost all my stuff's done with water locks, tung oil. Sometimes I'll put a wax on top of it, but usually anywhere from like 3 to 6 coats of water locks. Small stuff that I want to shine or whatever, I use a high friction polish, but most of my bowls are water locks. That's that mulberry piece again, the turtle. So that was turned, that was carved. I'm not sure what that was. That top piece was just a beautiful piece of driftwood. I kept trying to figure out what to do with it. This was a post from a building down in Clinton, and it's upside down now. But this, you know, they didn't use to pour footings down there or whatever. So there's the ground level. So this was in the ground. It looked like a tooth or whatever. But that piece, so the piece was turned up here on top. You can't see the top of the photograph. But the piece of wood was just so spectacular that I really didn't do much to it. That's a piece of, I think it's redwood driftwood on the bottom, and a piece of Babinga that I got from Mike on top. It's actually flat. It's not slanted nearly as much as that photo. That's 2 pieces. So there's this piece here was 1 piece of driftwood, and there's another piece in the back that's attached to stabilize this piece. This piece went way up high. That piece stands about that tall. So it was real spindly, But this was heavily worked. This piece was cut, and I glued this on, and then it's actually lashed together. It's glued together, but it's actually lashed together with leather. And that was a piece of redwood that Mike brought back that, if you can see the figure in there, I think that log was 8 foot long, 3 foot by 4 foot wide. You couldn't see the center of the tree, and the whole thing had that figure in it. That thing was
Oh,
unbelievable.
that was that early original.
Yeah.
The piece I brought back from when I went to California to get that piece, it was 37 inches by 37 inches by 7 feet long. Did not include the heart of the tree, and it was curly from edge to edge. And I went all the way to California and got that one piece of wood.
I think you told me that thing had been cut back in the 50s
50s
and laid out. So there's, you can't see it, but there's pitch pockets in there. So it had been cut as what they would have called music quality. So it would have been used for the back of violins and guitars and stuff. But the pitch pockets kept it from, I don't think you can see them in that photo, kept it from being sewed up like that. And Mike saw it and saw the potential of it.
What's that blue blotch?
It's blue lapis.
Oh, okay.
And I think there's some red calcite in there, and there's 3 minerals in there all together. So it's like a sun pattern in the middle of it. So some of the pieces they're too rotted or have too many voids in them to be able to get anything out of, so I just use them to show off a bowl. So that's just a piece of driftwood that was a real attractive piece of wood that's got a piece of mahogany turned and attached to it, dyed black, and I just put bowls on there to show them. So that bowl's actually a holly bowl that came off of 64 when they put 540 through. That's where the tree came from. That's the same pedestal with the leather lashing. So this piece, that soapstone that I got out of Virginia, that's the top and the bottom are big leaf maple burl. This was a piece that was heavily worked, but it was eaten by a beaver. So there's still teeth marks. That thing was twisted. There's still teeth marks on part of the piece. And then the burls were dyed grayish black to match the beaver wood. That piece of microning.
The soapstone, how can you work with soapstone, or what tools do you need for the soapstone?
The soapstone around here is really soft. My kids used to just like use a screwdriver with it and dig holes out of it and stuff. So this is coming from a mine up in Schuyler, Virginia. So you can still turn it. So I've got some diamond drills. So I normally drill a hole in the back, and that's where I attach it to the lathe. You know, I put my chuck in the back, drill it like a 2.5 inch hole. It looks like a hole saw, but it's got a diamond edge to it. And then I don't think that piece was turned. I might have flattened off the top on the lathe, but it was just done with grinders and then rasps and then sandpaper.
You can use rifflers or rasps or sandpaper. It's really, my kids use it all the time. Make little bears and frogs.
Have you ever gotten any of the stuff from Virginia?
We just get it from craft stores. You know,
The stuff up there, some of it's really hard, some of it's, I mean, stuff around here is, you know, the hardness scale for rock is like 1 to 10, with 1 being chalk and 10 being diamond. The stuff around here is probably about a 2 or 3. Some of that stuff's more like a 7 or an 8.
do you have any quartz in it or anything? Any sparks?
Occasionally, yeah. Yeah. And that place has been through a bunch of companies. But 20 years ago, it was owned by a Finnish company that was doing stoves. So they were cutting 1.25 slabs, shipping them to Finland, making wood stoves out of it. And if there was a 1/4 inch variation in the slab, you could get a pickup truck loaded for $10. So you used to be able to get it real cheap. Now they're doing countertops out of it. So it's about, I think it's 28 cents a pound or something now. So it's more expensive. But you can get some great pieces up there. So, let's see. That was a manzanita piece that Mike picked up, the base was. This was a burl that he had gotten in a truckload of wood from Peru, and nobody could ever identify it. And this piece was pretty unstable, and it was about 4 or 5 inches bigger than that in diameter. And so I ran all these long drywall screws into it, to try and stabilize it, and then put it aside and forgot to put those screws in there.
Owie.
But I learned how to sharpen. It did help me with my sharpening. That's that same piece. I think that's a cypress knee that I picked up.
Yeah.
Is it big or does it just look like it?
No, I don't really remember, but it might have been 16 inches or so tall. It wasn't huge.
Is that a self-portrait?
If it's got a beard, they're all self-portraits. That's a piece of cedar that washed up on my farm. That piece was fairly big. That piece was part of it.
You got a creek or a river on your farm?
Yeah, my farm borders the New Light Creek, which goes into Falls Lake. So I'm just inside Wake County, close to the Granville County line. And there was a dairy farm across the creek from me. It's all government land now. Back when they did 540, they had to replace the wetlands. Every acre of wetlands they disturbed, they had to replace it with 2 acres of wetlands. So that was the first wetland reclamation they've done in Wake County. So they bought most of his bottomland. And the Department of Transportation owns it for 5 years, and then they turn it over to a conservancy group. So he sold out of the dairy in '87, and Doug's probably, he's about 82. So he sold his beef cows last year. So there's still cows over there, but they're not his anymore. And the creek will flood. It flooded twice this fall. It normally doesn't flood that often, but it'll wash all his fences out and wash them onto my farm. That's that same piece of redwood that pedestal top was, so it just figured all the way through. That was a beech tree that fell on a pond at my farm right across from the shop. So that was driftwood that was actually picked up on my farm. And that's oak, that's beech. And there's whiskers carved in the back legs, and a little bit of milk inlay in the top. Can't really see the whiskers, can you? All right, that piece is that piece. So this just got a second coat of finish on it. That is that. That's how it started out. So it was put on the lathe, and a tenon was turned on this end, and a hole was drilled in the other end.
I'm gonna show the piece.
So on the table, look, can you pick it up?
Stand behind it.
Sorry.
Yes.
It's good that you built that handle into it.
That's one of the Handlewood series right there. I'm not positive now, but I think this came off Falls Lake before it was flooded. The bottom is a piece of mulberry. It came from Pennsylvania that got brought me. But so this was solid. You know, I started it with I think it was Henry Moore said his first hole in a piece of stone was a revelation. And it's really fun to, to do it in stone or wood or whatever. I think that's oak. And so I've talked to a number of people. Ann's given me a bunch of advice on it, and talked to Mike about it. Mike doesn't like that piece of wood on top. So I've got a piece of marble that I may do something up here, but a lot of my pedestals I don't secure the top. So, I mean, if it's not sold, it's fair game to go back into, a year down the road, whatever. It also makes them a lot easier to transport. That top's not attached.
Is there more?
You say you turned that piece of wood?
It was done on the lathe. So it was mounted on the lathe. There's a tenon turned down here that goes into the mulberry piece, and the hole was drilled on the lathe. So after the tenon was turned, then it was put in shut, so I could put a drill bit in the tailstock. The rest, nothing else was on the lathe.
Okay.
But did you use the lathe to help you carve it? Meaning,
I may have used it.
I've done it where you can index it to different spots and use it like a carving stand.
Right. I didn't do that on this piece. I may have used it some for the sanding of it, but I didn't use it when I was carving this out.
because my dust collection's right there too, so that's.
Yeah, and that's where your best lights usually are.
Right.
So it just makes sense to use your lathe for a lot more than just turning on. So one of the things with driftwood is rock. There was a bunch of rock in this piece. So a lot of the rocks are still embedded in the bottom of this thing, but it's one of the things you gotta watch out for when you turn it. And seashells, you know, there'll be little conchs in some of the crevices sometimes. There's always sand in there.
Sometimes screws.
Especially if you put them in. If you don't want to put them in, they're going to be in there when you go back to it. So that's the same piece. I think that's after I got started on it. And that piece of redwood in the back, Mike brought me. This is actually a tree that Mike cut for me that was cut in Zebulon. That's a piece of redwood that's going to a one in Virginia for a coffee table that I got from Mike. One big slab. That was a piece of maple driftwood that had a lot more bug damage than I realized. So I was hoping to get a little farther along to bring it in tonight, but so it's got mineral inlay, but mainly the inlay was not done. You know, I didn't draw a picture and then do the inlay. I was just trying to cover up the bug holes. So not everything's going to be successful. You know, sometimes you eat the bug holes, and sometimes you fill them. Yeah. That piece was so badly eaten that I didn't have any choice but to do something or not. Now, Mike, you've seen some of his stuff. The more voids, the better he likes it. But he doesn't sell functional stuff. I'm trying to sell most of my stuff.
I'm saying dysfunctional.
I'm just saying that all that mineral inlay is holes, bug holes. Right. So, you know, what are you going to put in there?
Soup bowl.
Yeah. if you want to extract that out of the water. So anyway, it's a work in progress.
Spaghetti. Drain your spaghetti.
That's another piece. Well, actually, a friend of mine bought that thing. You didn't pick that up, did you?
It looks like something I would have picked up.
I think a friend brought that to you. So that will end up being a carving of some sort. But just to show you some of the wood that he brings out.
You don't want to spin that?
That's actually a pretty big piece. This was a piece that was some kind of pine root, and it was gorgeous. And unfortunately, went through the bottom.
Oh.
It's a bug hole. Yeah, I got to figure out what kind of mineral to put in there now. That's actually not my piece. That was a student's work. But the figure in that thing was incredible. So I have done a series called Handlewood because of this kind of stuff like this. That, you know, like this piece here. A lot of the driftwood will have a piece that you could pick it up with. So that's called Handlewood bowls. But that's what that. That will eventually be some type of handlewood. So in doing the state fair, people, you know, it's a cross section of society. You'll get every question in the world, from what kind of overalls are those to, is that a wooden ashtray? You know, yeah, I guess it is. And you can buy one again next year when you burn that one up. They all want to know, what kind of wood is that? What's that? What's that? And I said, well, some of it I don't know. I mean, I do other stuff besides driftwood, but in showing the driftwood, sometimes you can't identify it. So I said, I'm not sure what it is. It's driftwood. She says, you mean from the driftwood tree? I said, yes, ma'am. So that's my driftwood tree outside my shop. This is driftwood just hanging off it. You just go out there and pick it up when you want one.
How do you tell when it's African, isn't it?
How you tell what, Jeff?
How you tell when it's right?
That's what she's trying to decide right now.
It's that silver color.
And that,
It turns silver.
you recognize that piece?
Yes.
That's from the East Coast. That's a piece that Angela brought me. I got other contacts besides Mike. Don't. I keep my options open. So Angela brought that from.
I've been labeling my NW.
Sir?
I've been labeling my wood NW. And people come out, what's NW?
Yeah.
Mystery wood.
Mystery wood.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Well, I thought it was Michael. Was
Mystery to me.
My initials are BW. So I put BW on mine, and the name of my company is New Light Woodworks. So it's BW and LWW. But everyone would say, well, is that black walnut? You know, it could be a piece of maple or oak. No, it's not. But my name is, you know. That's just hanging out with friends at the wood shop, trying to not get under too much pressure when we get into the new year.
Cool.
So I think
That's
that's
the
it.
last one.
So Carol and her son did all the